Oh my God, it's still so weird to see your last. Is it weird to see my last name Costa?
No.
Why is it so weird for me? I can't accept it. Like I
Wha-
can't change Angela's name to not Brito. I
Oh,
can't change yours to not Rosa. It's so difficult for me. But then
yeah.
when I hear someone say like Sylvia Suarez, I'll be like,
Who's
what?
that person?
That's crazy. Did you legally change your name already?
Yeah.
Did you have a moment?
I didn't have that big of a moment, not as big as my dad had.
Really?
I had to do it because I had a lot of legal stuff to do in Portugal too at that time, like with my grandparents passing. So I had to like do it fast because we had legal stuff that we had to do there fast.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just think it was like, it was no thing, even though I kept my maiden name.
I literally got back into the car and I cried so hard.
Of course you did.
I cried so hard. I just thought, wow, this is like really like just goodbye, Sylvia Suarez. Time for the next one.
You
It
did,
was really,
yeah.
really
You didn't
weird for
at
me.
all. You didn't keep Swatters at all.
No, I regret it though.
Yeah, I kept Rosa.
I,
I
for
don't know.
some reason, I had it in my mind that I had to choose between Manuela and Swadage, and I should have kept it all
Yeah, that's what I
and
ended up
said,
doing.
who cares? I mean, I can
Yeah,
still change it if I want, but I did it for the kids. Why didn't I do it for me?
yeah, yeah.
Because all
That's
the
weird.
kids have Swadage in my name, so why wouldn't I think I'm just so freaking attached to the Manuela that I was like, as long as this name is in my name, I don't care. My dad was not happy, but at the moment, I was like, well, if I have to choose this Manuela. Anyways, welcome to the show, Natalia Liana Rosa Schaefer. I don't know how you legally have it on paper, but I think that's how it is.
Exactly how it is, actually.
Welcome to the show. It might be a shock to a lot of people that we're just chilling and chatting. We've been
Yeah,
very quiet about our
rekindle,
revival.
uh, rekindled.
Rekindled revival.
Yeah,
Um, because I think I hold it very close to my heart too. So I don't want any like negativity towards it or stupid pessoas
does
vão
this make
falar
it
type of
weird?
stuff. No, because no one's gonna see us. We could see each other, but you guys are not gonna see what we look like right now. My sound was
Yeah, you
so bad
like
on the last episode,
really
and it was so
serious.
terrible. I really got to redeem myself with this episode. So, what
Yeah,
a great guest to redeem myself with. I really got the tea.
yeah, you look like real professional with the microphone.
I thought somebody was coming at the door. My eyes went like, it's me time.
Don't you dare! No boys allowed.
Get out of here. It's Blake's birthday today, but I did all the things already. Like,
You go, stepmom.
thank
Okay, sorry, I totally interrupted your introduction, but
Oh yeah, this is the introduction of the light of a lifetime. I feel like this literally is full circle, which is so crazy because I have a feeling I started like this idea like the day of your mom's birthday, actually, last year.
wow, that was a long
June
time ago.
29th? 29th?
Yeah,
Yeah, June 29th. So
yeah.
it's officially 1 year. Happy 1 year to the podcast. And it
Congratulations.
has really gone in so many different directions. I felt lost for the past couple months of where I wanted to take this, but I feel like I've been waiting for this episode.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that you actually reached out to me, which I thought was never going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little backstory: Natalia and I have been friends since we were probably like 13, 14 years old, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, about
We
that.
met through mutual Portuguese friends. And then I started dancing in her dance group, and we were just thick as thieves. Like when you think of like your childhood best friends, that's what we were. Best
Yeah.
friends. We shared cuecas.
Yes, we did, along with many other. I don't know if I would have been
And
that, but yeah,
we did not judge each other about it.
no. And also at that time, we were probably closer in sizes. As we moved on and progressed through our teenage ages, I don't think that we were the same size anymore. But at that time, yeah, we were. So it worked out.
Yeah, so we really go back, and our friendship was super tight, thick as thieves. I think we went through one really bad friendship breakup for a few years, but I don't think it lasted as long as this one did.
No, I
I
think
don't
the
think so.
first like 3 years,
I would say that.
yeah, maybe 2.5, 3 years, and then this one was like
6
6.
years that we didn't
Yeah,
talk. This episode literally like kind of paves the way for the whole meaning of why I started the podcast and stuff. So Vanessa being my first guest, like that was the tone and the stepping stone of like what I was going through and what was happening. I was in a place of I was evaluating myself and my friendships because, as you know, I lost all my good friends. And those 6 years of not being your friend, I was also not friends with Vanessa. I was also not friends with some of those years, not with Andrea. Like I distanced myself from so many people. So it wasn't just you, but you obviously our tight friend group. There was four of us, four main ones. So the first episode that you guys heard was me and Vanessa, and then Andrea. Me and Andrea are cousins, and then me and you. So it was four of us. We had people in and out, but like we were like the main four best friends for quite some time. But me
yeah.
and you, like, obviously me and Andrea were cousins, but me and you were different
But
type of
like
friends.
we had different stages in so cliche to say, but in like cliques, like I feel like we were you and I were like
Constant.
constant, but then there was like people that would come in, and then obviously at the end was the four of us, but there were other people that we were super close
Yeah.
to through all of our teenage years. Like we could say we had a different set of 3 or 4 when we were in high school, compared to
Yeah.
like when we were in our young 20s and stuff.
So when we were like 27, 28, we lost a really close friend of ours, and then that's kind of when all of us separated in our own separate ways. Not saying that's the reason why we like had a friendship fallouts, but I think that was everyone's needs were really different through that too.
For sure.
So when we stopped connecting,
We're all in
and then
very different places in our lives too. Like
yeah,
I feel like we were all doing different things, but we were still working really hard to like keep our friendship fresh and fun. But like we each had different challenges. And
yeah,
so were um those things were tugging at us in different ways, which made it hard for us to like be as tight as we were because I had different responsibilities. You had different responsibilities. Andrea, obviously, as a young mom, had different responsibilities and like those kinds of things. So I think that didn't help either.
yeah. We all had a really good way of handling our shit, and then when we would get to one another, it was like we completely put a block to all of our responsibilities, and we went absolutely insane. For sure.
I always tried to still be very responsible during those while and out moments, but
Yeah, I would say you were the most responsible out of all of us. I, I, I mean, guilty enough. I definitely held you as a crutch. Like she has me. I can get really fucked up.
yeah, that's just part of me. I was just always aware of all of our surroundings and where we were at and what we were doing and who we were with.
And I'm not like that at
No,
all.
not at
So
all.
bad. I want to be so much better. But that is literally why I have you as my friend, and literally why I married my husband too, because he's the same way. I'm
Yeah,
so
it's
oblivious. I can't
a
help it.
blessing and a curse. It's a blessing and a curse in its same
Yeah,
because
and a
like
genetic.
yeah, because sometimes I'm like, gosh, I wish I wasn't this way. You know, like yesterday I took Kyle and my daughter Nazareth to the bubble bash thingy, and I couldn't like take her out of the stroller until he was there because there was just like too many people, and I was just like on high alert, and so I don't know. I
No,
just
and being a freaking female with
yeah,
kids, like
yeah,
guys don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. I'm like watching Roger walk through the parking lots with the kids not holding one hand, and I'm like, I
yeah,
would never not hold my kid's hand. I don't know when you're supposed to stop holding your son's hand, but we're 5 and going strong. I don't know. I used to make fun of kids that used to hold their mom's hand. Yeah. Anyways, so first episode goes down, and me and Vanessa have a good episode. And really, it was me just going through my mid-30s crisis. I don't know. I was going through where I'm like, well, I'm gonna start having new friends, and I don't want to be a bad friend or be a over like thinker or reactor or whatever. I
yeah.
wanted to figure out what I was doing because I want to create healthy relationships moving forward. I just want to be better. So I that's why I kind of started it, because I think that my friendship breakups were something I had to grieve. So friends from your childhood are very special friends because it's just different. You can be different with them and more natural.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
tell me why you reached out to me after hearing that first episode with Vanessa.
Well, I mean, and I think I told you this when we first spoke is that initially when I heard it, I thought that my reaction, like I thought that I was going to be upset. Like I expected myself to be pissed, because that that would have been my typical response, and then I act like I told you, I felt not like moved. I felt intrigued and interested because I mean, knowing you for so long and like being that we had so many crazy like fights and disagreements and like how intense, like how tumultuous our relationship or a friendship was at times. um I felt like Sylvia is always going to be the same old Sylvia. Like I'm never going to be able to be the friend that she is to me, And so it was always going to be challenging forever. And then I heard the episode and I was like, "Wow, I'm not upset," you know? And I ended up talking to Kyle about it, my husband, and he's like, "Okay, what do you feel about it?" And I was like, "I feel like she's talking about me." Like I feel like she like this whole thing is really about me, but I don't think that she's ever going to say anything to me. And like you told me later that you never had any intention to reach out to me because ultimately you had been the last one to reach out. And so I just felt like, okay, obviously we're at very different places in our lives now than we were then, and we share more of a common ground than we did, or not than we did, but it's just like you grow up and like you have different perspectives on life, and like you experience things, you go through things, and um I was just like, hey, I don't have anything to lose. What is she going to say? No, I don't want to talk to you. We already haven't talked for 5+ years, so whatever. And I reached out and I was like, hey, it made me feel some type of way, and so it made me do something about it. And
Yeah.
obviously you were shocked, um so much so that you were like, I don't know how to respond right now. And I was like, that's okay, that's cool, like, like where do we start, how do we start, is it something that we want to start? And for me, I like, and Kyle reminded me, he's like, go into it with no expectations, like you can't expect that she's a different person. You can't expect that she's going to even want to talk to you. You can't expect anything, you know? And I'm like, all right. And like, obviously, like, in the back of your mind and like in your gut, you always have expectations. But I was like, I'm gonna send it. And like I was in a position too where it's like I had it typed and then like didn't send it for hours, you know, and then like would go back to
Yeah.
it, read it, and was like, ugh, should I change this? Should I not change it? And then finally I was just like, I'm freaking pressing the blue button and it will be what it will be, you know? And that's kind of what drove me to do it. I felt like it's not me to judge your growth, but I felt like from knowing you and like hearing you speak with Vanessa and like really trying to dig deep and dive into like your own personal issues and the issues in like past relationships, friendships, familial relationships, like all of those things. I was like, okay, maybe we are both at a place now in our life where we can have an adult conversation about it. Not have any like real animosity and just like figure out what it was, what happened, and either move on from it or not.
Yeah. So it was 6 years of not talking, and I'm talking like not talking. Like from literally talking multiple times in a day to zero
Yeah.
communication.
I think the only time that you out to me aside from something that somebody else said that you were asking me about was when my grandmother passed away. And it was very short, like, hey, and I think you sent me a message on Facebook or something, some outlet, because obviously you didn't text me. Um, and it was like, hey, I know how much she meant to you. I'm so sorry. I hope you're doing okay. And I just said like, hey, thanks for reaching out. And it was like that was it. And that was
Yeah.
almost 3 years ago, you know? So that was like probably 3 years into our little hiatus, you know?
I would have never expected 6 years to have gone by with us not talking at all. And I think um in my head I was like, well, like the ball's in her court, and I just kept riding that wave. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say stubborn. Yeah, I guess it is stubborn, but like she clearly in my head I was like, she clearly just does not need me in her life right now. And so I
Mm-hmm.
felt like I took a very big step aside, and then a lot of big milestone things started happening for me. And when I wasn't getting any attention back from you, I was like, well, I guess that's where I have to call it, because what is this? But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't ask, what is this? I didn't say anything either. And I wish I would have reached out, because 6 years is way too long. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think that when we stopped being friends when we were 27, 28 years old, that we would have ever expected to truly get married and truly have weddings and truly have kids and truly have a lot of losses and not be there for one another.
Like I never would have imagined, like, if you asked me when I was even 25 if you're going to get married and somebody told me like Sylvia's not going to be there, I would have been like, okay, you're crazy, you know? Like, I never would have
Yeah,
thought that kinds of things would have happened in my life, and you and a couple of other people would not have been a part of them, you know? um
yeah,
and it's crazy to think about, you know, but like you said, we did everything together, you know, like we were such a big an integral part of each other's lives. And I don't even just mean like you and I, but like the whole family aspect, you know, like I was so involved with your family and you with mine, you know, like we knew everybody, like every family party, every holiday, every birthday, like everything. Like we
yeah, we
didn't.
were so intertwined.
Yeah, yeah,
I,
100%. So it's
I spent like so much time at your house, like
yeah,
literally living with you and your dad.
yeah,
Literally lived with you and your dad for a little bit. But
yeah. But crazy because I never would have thought that, like, when you think about like, so you have like pivotal things that happen to you when you're a kid and like high school graduations and like that kind of stuff. But then like you really get into it like in your young adult years, you know, you're like your late 20s and your early 30s, and the whole wedding aspect and like having kids and like all of those things. And it's just, it's wild to me that that wasn't, we weren't a part of each other's lives at that point, you know. um I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there, can't take it back, and you know, we've talked about this offline, and just like, hey, we move forward now, and we're, you know, we've chosen to be more active in each other's lives, but it's still, it still sucks, you know, like
Oh
at the end of the
yeah.
day.
Like I can't even talk about your daughter without crying. Like I can't even think about her cute little face without my eyes just like tearing up. I'm so obsessed with her already. Like your friendship and my friendship to each other, I think, is so deep rooted. We know literally everything about one another, the
Yeah.
ins and outs of our families, ugly, good, bad, everything when it comes to the real shit that makes you a human being. I
Yeah.
know how you were raised and how you are. You know me, you know my family, everything. And
Mhm.
there are only so many times in your life where you come across people that you have that connection with, and it doesn't truly happen like later on in life. So to lose a friendship like yours is a loss, you know?
Yeah.
So I think that took me a long time to process. Now, like when we went through the time where we weren't talking, I think when we were all us four girls were all together, I don't think I knew how bad I was, like struggling so bad mentally. Um, and I had, and unfortunately, what woke me up was Andrew's passing. I felt like I had put myself in situations way worse than he was in, and he died. And it was like a big shock to me and my nervous system in my life. And I knew I had to make a drastic change in my life to change. And
Mhm.
when I made that change, it wasn't to distance myself from you guys, but it was more against like temptations of like really partying and drinking and trying to concentrate, and knew I wasn't living a life to get the things that I really wanted. So I had to make a change. And I think in my head, I knew all of that. But like I think I said to you before, you had seen me being manic for like a year already. Like so many rash decisions, stupid decisions, getting myself into really, really bad situations and stuff. And I know it wasn't easy for you to see me doing that to myself either. So, and you were in a point where you were in school. Like
Yeah.
you were so focused and all you wanted to do was just finish school so you can get the hell back to the Bay Area to
Yep.
be with your grandparents and everything and your family. And I was just there visiting you all the time.
Yeah.
And I was trying to fill a lot of a void of a broken heart from, that breakup that I went through and everything. And I think you were really finding
Yeah.
yourself after a bad breakup too.
For
And
sure.
we helped one another a lot emotionally. Like
Mhm.
we could call one another crying and be there for one another. So that deep friendship was really a really hard one to lose because you just can't do that with everyone. So
Yeah.
when you texted me that day, I was shaking. Like I was like hot. Like I was like very flushed. I was shaking. I didn't know what to do. I like copy and pasted it to my husband, and I was just like, "This is from Natalia," and he's like, "Well, what do you think?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't even know what to think. This is so crazy." Out of everyone I thought that I would have on my podcast, I never would have thought it would have been you. And when you said, I think she's talking about you when it comes to friendships, how could I not have?
Yeah.
How could I not have been talking about you also? And of course, majority of it. Yeah, I
Right.
want to know like where the hell did I go wrong through everything? And so I couldn't just have you on the podcast because I remember when
Yeah.
you reached out to me, you said, on or off the record. And I'm like, I can't just have her on the record. Like, you and I need to talk first.
Yeah.
So when we met up at Starbucks, and mind you, 6 years, okay? So 6 years I have not been around my crazy ass fucking friends, okay? I have been a mother and a wife. I've been very domesticated. I don't think I told you this, Natalia.
No, but you
You
sent me
walk
to
into Starbucks.
you
Okay,
sent
so
me to
yeah,
the
you
wrong.
went to the wrong Starbucks, but whatever. You walk into the Starbucks and you go, I made it! Like hella loud. And I went, and I look up and and like the whole Starbucks like went whoo and like looked at you. And I'm like, I have not been around my loud people in so long that that shocked me. And I was in my head, I went, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. I was like, damn, that's what it's like to be loud because usually I'm the only one and I don't know. I don't know how loud I am. I only found out I was loud once I decided to move in with my husband. I was not loud before.
Yeah.
So, yeah, during that 3-hour talk at freaking Starbucks.
I can't even believe that the time went by that fast. And we literally both looked at our phones and I was like, and I still had like a relatively newborn at that time. You know, I think she was what, all of 5 months old, 4 months old. And I left my dad with her, which he's great, you know, for like a couple of hours. But I'm like, oh my gosh, it's still going to take me 35 minutes to get home. And that will be like 4 hours of him being alone with her. But I can't believe that the time went by that fast. It's crazy.
Yeah, but he knew you were talking to me, so he probably was like, they need to talk. They
Yeah,
really do. Your dad
100%.
was like a crucial part of my life too. It was hard even not to have him at my wedding. Like I contemplated just inviting your dad. And I was like, I can't do that. That's so fucked up. And I was like, those are things like when people are like, no regrets, things happen for a reason. Like, no, I really regret that. I wish that we would have just squashed shit before at least our wedding so we could have been a part of one another's weddings the way that we always dreamed of. I wish that when your grandparents passed away, I could have been there the way that I should have been there. I wish that I could have been a part of your baby shower, your bridal shower. Like, I wish I could have been the one like helping with the DIYs, like being really in it like I was supposed to be, I would the way that I was supposed to be. I regret that. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I think that the driving force behind that too is like communication, you know, like you just have to communicate not only like what you feel and all of that, but like not be afraid to reach out. And I think you said that on one of your podcasts is like, I don't know, I think you were talking to Dominic or something. And it's just like, reach out because you don't really know what you're going to get, you know, like closed mouths don't get fed. You don't know unless you do it, you know? And you might not get what you expect, um but it doesn't hurt to just like communicate effectively so that at least you know for yourself, if not for everybody else, you know?
yeah. Well, I'm so happy that we are in a good place now.
Yeah.
And the way that you and I are, we can't help it. We just go right back.
Yeah. Like pick up where we left off. It was
Yeah,
very
like it's just very easy.
yeah, I felt very comfortable, but I didn't know if what I was feeling was going to be reciprocated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's always like really hard to put yourself in that kind of position. Even me, who's like somebody who I would consider myself like a pretty, you know, confident and like I typically will always say what I feel and like with no expectations and stuff like that. It was I still expected to have the same feeling reciprocated, and so that part was kind of scary for me, you know, like left me in an
Well, I think it
uneasy.
was totally out of the ordinary for you to be the one to reach out because that has never happened in our friendship.
100%, 100%.
So thank you for that, and I'm proud of you for doing that.
Thing.
But I think it has to be worth it, right? Like there definitely are some situations in my life that I know that I'm not going to talk to certain people ever again. And you have to have boundaries for yourself in that sense where it's like, no, that was fucked up. Like I'm hard knowing on that. Like I don't want to be a part of that.
Yeah, but I have to say, like at one point, like early on, in our friendship breakup, because I don't really know what to call it, but
No, literally.
yeah, at one point I was like, she's just not somebody that I need in my life right now, and we're doing this, and I have other priorities right now, and she has other priorities, and like at that point I did think like, this isn't worth it. Like, it's not worth the energy that it's costing me and like what I'm spending on it. And then 2 years go by, and then you think like, damn, like that sucks. Like, it's weird that 2 years already went by, and then three, and then four, and then like, then we start working in all the, like pivotal moments and stuff. And but there, I can't say that there wasn't a moment in our hiatus that I was like, nah, I don't really need her. There were moments like that where I felt like, no,
Yeah.
that's not something I need in my life. Maturity wise, I don't think that I was really there yet to realize like, yes, thankfully I have made really amazing adult friendships and like connections with people that are now a big part of my life, and I consider them my family and I love them so much. But the, it'll never be it could never be what you and I had, because I can't take back those years. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Yeah.
can't rewrite it. I can't rewrite, you know, the the things that we did and the conversations that we had and like what we experienced together. Like, I can't have that with adult friends now. And I think realizing that was like, okay, maybe she's gonna accept, maybe she's not gonna accept, but part of it was, this is something I need to do for me. And if it works out, it works out. If it doesn't, then I'm in the same situation that I was in yesterday. For me, it was easy because I continued to live the same life I was living before. I was still away. I was still not home. Like, I was still away. I was still without my family. I was still without you guys. Yeah, I mean, obviously it was weird that you weren't visiting all the time like you had been, the couple of years that I was living down in Southern California before. But I was I was knee deep in like so much schooling that like I didn't really have time to think about any of that stuff, really.
I think that's fine to need your own space and to grow, but I do think it was like way too long. Like 6 years was way too long to need that time to grow. And like I do regret missing so many of those milestones, although like I think about it, like I would have been so pregnant when you got married. I don't know how that would have worked anyways, but but I wish I were in those pictures. I wish that I was a part of those things.
That concludes part 1 of the friendship breakup episode with Natalia Shaper. It was very special and long overdue of an episode to have. Natalia and I have now been friends for a year since our friendship broke up. So we've been able to meet up and have our husbands meet one another. I finally got to meet her daughter, Nazaré, a little before she turned 1 year old. So that's been so special to me. When I look at her daughter, I mean, when I met her for the first time, I was shaking and I was crying, and I told my husband like how important it was for me, and it was like a kid in a candy store when they were coming. I just couldn't wait. Something really special when you get to meet the children of people that are as close to you as sisters. When I see her little face, all I think about is the pictures that were in her house as a child growing up. All those big photos, that her parents print out and put on the wall. That's what I remember seeing and going to see when I'd go to her house all the time, is those pictures of her. So when I see her little daughter, I just think of Natalia's little face, and it's just so cool. It's just so cool when your friends start having kids and they start looking like their parents, and it's just full circle again. I'm so happy to have Natalia and Kyle and Nazaré in my life. Natalia and her husband have always had a very special place in my heart, and I love them very much, and I'm very happy to have this chapter in our lives together. It's going to be fun. So this is not the end of you guys hearing from Natalia, and you will be able to see and hear and wait for part 2 of this conversation. Hope you guys enjoyed. Enjoy your weekend. Enjoy getting back into the hustle and bustle as the summer dies down. I love you guys. Thank you for the support. Please follow me on all the socials, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and I'm on Threads, because why not? Why not just add another social media outlet? Rate, subscribe. This is how I can keep the podcast alive. So I would love if you guys could rate and subscribe to the podcast. I know you guys are listening, and I'm so grateful and thankful for you guys just continuing to tune in and hear the podcast. So again, you can find me wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeart, Apple. You guys can also find me on our regular viewing and broadcasting times on Palma Radio, a Portuguese media radio station, broadcasted on Tuesdays at 11 a.m. And then they'll replay that episode on Thursdays at 7 p.m. Thank you guys again for all of the support. Looking forward to hearing from you. And if you guys have any questions for me and Natalia to address, DM us, or if you're listening on Spotify, there's a Q&A after our episode. Give us your feedback. Tell me what you want to know. Tell me what you want to hear in the next part 2 episode with Natalia Shaper. Thank you so much. And thank you, Natalia, for coming on the show. I love you. Bye.